Hello, everyone. My name is Patricia, and today I'm here with the lovely Jennifer. As you know, I took the HIP course, the Holistic Intuitive Practitioner course, with her last year. And yeah, different story, but it turned out that we work really well together. And I'm accompanying her with the new launch of her new course, which is Hungry for More. It's about dating and love and desire and all those nice, lovely, expansive things. And yeah, we want to take you on a journey and walk you through a few things together and yeah, just to take you alongside our thinking and our chats. So yeah, maybe you want to say something before we jump right into the questions, Jennifer?
Oh yeah, I would. I probably could talk endlessly about the Hungry for More and HIP, both of them. As far as the Hungry for More, it's the course that I've been writing as far as my own personal journey that really was from this space of me always knowing and believing and trusting there has to be more. And when I would interact with friends and family and I would see their marriages, their relationships, their life, and this like surrender to complacency, I never believed that lie. I just always believed like that there has to be more joy, more pleasure. Like this whole thing has to be more rewarding and fueling. And along the way, I learned a ton of lessons about how that is true and how to get that, and not by pummeling, but in what actually is real, genuine feminine energy, which is not putting on a smile and making everybody happy and spirituality and being higher self. And it's also not boss babe, which
Hmm.
was incredibly confusing because what I saw was one of those two extremes. Like if you want happiness, if you want love, if you want joy as a woman, this is the epitome of womanhood. It's you choose A or B, you choose left or
Yeah.
right. And um and me learning and undoing those stories within myself and within the social constructs that I was in, and then seeing how do I actually embody and experience real joy and pleasure every single day, no matter what's going on in my life. And so that's really what
Oh,
brought that
yeah, that already sounds like such an, I mean, I'm sorry that, and sorry and thank you at the same time that you went through all those lessons for us, and it already sounds so nice. I know that it will be work, but I also know that it sounds so nice to have finally joy and no confusion and just lean into what feels good. Hopefully, let's see where we
Yeah.
get there. But yeah, maybe it was your own experience or either in your own life or with a client where someone had truly done everything, like the therapy, the communication work, the self-love, the
Mhm.
healing, the working on myself, and still kept attracting the same pattern. I think we've all been there.
And yeah, I think everybody has. And the reason for that is so neuroscientifically, Hungry for More is based in neuroscience, not psychology. Psychology is studying and rehashing this pattern that we have and how do we feel about this pattern. Neuroscience is okay, this is the actual like neural pathway, like a mouse in a maze. It gets from A to B this way, very, very clinical, and stepping outside of the emotion, stepping outside of the storyline, and saying, okay, what's a better way to do this with less energy wastage? What's a
Mhm.
better way to optimize this? And so everything in Hungry for More is from that perspective because so many of my patients, and including myself, I've done the things. I'm trained in the things. I'm trained in EMDR and tapping and traditional Chinese medicine and kinesiology. And there's so many things. I literally am trained as a QEEG, the thing that you put, like the $1 million thing you put on your head and you read all the Z scores. I'm trained in that and how to change that. They're all at best, if you have a cup full of stress and you fill it up, you fill it up, fill it up, it's full of stress, at best they're saying, this is your amount of stress you have right now, let's remove it. This is your
Mm.
amount of trauma you experienced, inherited, whatever, and how much is in your body of that, biochemically, somatically, whatever, let's remove it. And then you're still back to the same pattern
Mhm.
of how you are in relationship with food, with men, with friends, with money. that relationship pattern didn't change. How we
Mm-hmm.
relate to these things didn't change. And that's really what when I look at the work from myself and patients, that's what actually creates transformation.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. So, I mean, if we step back a tiny little bit, um, you already mentioned it, all the therapy, the tapping, etc. It all doesn't work. So, I mean, talking about myself, yes, definitely therapy. What else did we try, and how much work did we do, and it all didn't work. So, is there something where you can kind of, you already alluded to it a little bit, that it's the relationship too didn't change, but what do you believe was the real problem in the
Ourselves.
end? Yeah.
I know, nobody likes that. But see, here's the thing. The reason, if I said, here's $1 million, if you could just find in you what to shift, not to remove, not what's bad, not what's wrong, if your reticular activating system in your brain, it will find what you tell it to look for. If you say look for a yellow car, you're going to start noticing yellow cars. You know what I mean? If you say look for the bad, you're going to find the bad. That's always going to happen. Whether I'm looking at your labs, your emotions. But if I said, here's $1 million, and if you could find the one thing to just shift in you and you could have $1 million, you'd be like, yes. Now, what if I said the one thing's you? Why that irks us, why that triggers us is because we go, oh no, is that going to hurt? Is that
Mm.
going to cause a loss of identity? That's the real thing. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, because if you want a new identity of how you relate with money and food and people, you have to release the old identity of how you relate with money and food and people. And so
Yeah.
that is the patterns of how we relate that changes, where the rest of it is talking about it, talking about it, talking about it, talking about it, but you're not actually transforming the
Yeah.
conversation of how you relate. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, more talking only engraves those patterns in the brain even more, I find, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
there's a 20-year study done on talk therapy, and I'm not bashing any of these modalities. They all have their purpose. They all help in a way. It's like ingredients in the kitchen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They all can be used in certain things in certain recipes, right? But when it comes to talk therapy, there was a 20-year study done, and the neural pathways that were there within the fascia, the brain, everything that were causing this identity in relation to this experience, it's like watering them. If they're like root
Mm.
systems, you are watering them. You are
Yeah.
strengthening those neural pathways. And the other thing is, as far as this, our subconscious only knows we exist. Our subconscious doesn't know anyone else exists. It believes everyone else is a movie. And so when we're continuously going, yes, but I watched that movie, and that movie, when I watched it, I was scared of that movie. That's great. What's a faster way to not watch that movie and talk about the movie anymore?
Yeah.
And we know this even in simple application. You can watch a movie when you're in one kind of version of your life. Maybe you're going through a breakup, and then you watch a romance movie. You're like, oh my gosh, I know. And then you can watch it like a year later when you're good or even neutral about romance. You're like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. Did you see how he did that? Completely different experience, but the same stimuli. And that's because our
Mm.
subconscious only knows we exist. Like every
Mm-hmm.
every most pleasurable moment you've ever had, you did that.
Mm.
And the thing with
Mm.
that, when it comes to dating, is that means the best things that you've ever experienced in that relationship, that was you interacting with an outside stimuli. You can do that again with a new person without
Yeah.
that in the same way and learning to do that better. The worst things you've experienced with whatever that person was, that was you. You were creating the low lows and the high highs, and you can just choose to relate differently and choose better and be more selective. And that's
Yeah.
why the roadmap is in there. How do you have that dating roadmap of how do you select versus how do I manifest? How do I masculine? How do I find? How do I, with all this, how do I select and have that wisdom? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. 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 And was there a specific moment where you saw that this wasn't, this was never a mindset or communication problem? Did you have some sort of aha moment, or do you see it in client interactions where they have that aha moment that this was never, trying harder was never the issue?
Yeah, throughout my career and my own life, I've had that. There was a woman recently, a patient who in an appointment, and she said, she said in that appointment, she said, and it's things that they're tools that I teach in the Hungry for More. And she said, "Oh my gosh, you just did in 1 minute or whatever it was, like 5 minutes, like one thing, what took two decades, literally 2 decades, 20 years to do that I've been seeing a therapist for. But the way you put it, the way you address how I can change that, I know it clicks. Like I
Yeah.
literally process it differently that fast. And when it comes to mindset work, what's different about this versus mindset work is we're very specifically looking at how do we change our pattern, not how do we manifest, think more, affirmations. You can have the best affirmation. You can say, I'm a millionaire, I'm whatever. But if your subconscious doesn't believe that experience, if
Yeah.
you can't attach to that experience, you're just saying it. And so for myself and patients, that yeah, I've had therapists that are patients who have said, when are you going to make a course? How can you teach, how do you do it?
Ta-da! There it is.
Yeah, I'm like, that would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to? I mean, you already were diving a little bit into the subconscious mind, but maybe you can talk a little bit of what's happening in the nervous system or the something like attraction chemistry that did not
Oh,
change
yes,
or
I love
change.
that. Oh, I love that question. Okay, here's why. Okay, so one, I have a massive beef. I think that, I'm old enough to remember that term. You got beef? I got a massive beef with all the health and wellness industry saying nervous system, how it's like this term thrown around as though the epitome of this human experience is calm. And I say this in other content too. Like if you were to look at anything, your Z scores, anything, our body is, and our nervous system as well, is upregulating, downregulating, upregulating, downregulating. If you go to the emergency room and somebody is flatlined, they're dead. Like we're here to have the human experience. And inflammation, pain, suffering is when we're fighting that. It's when we're analyzing it like this shouldn't be, instead of going, I'm curious of how to do this with more pleasure. I'm curious of how to do this with more excitement. I'm curious versus I'm constrained. And so when it comes to this nervous system jargon that's thrown out, I'm going to regulate my nervous system. Your nervous system regulates you. It's the opposite way. It's your biofeedback. Just like nobody's going to say, you know what? I get hunger signals every day throughout the day. I need to regulate my hunger signals. I need them to just calm down. No, it's your body telling you you're human and this is what's going on with you. And how do you do this better? How do you experience more joy, more pleasure in your eating, whatever it may be? So
Yeah.
first of all is the nervous system, and then the next is the biochemistry with attraction. I would say like 99% of what's out there about romance is steps down in a cascade of events that happens on a cellular level in the body before you get to emotion. So 99% of what's out there is this is your inner child, this is your attachment, this is your love language, this is your emotions. Before we get there, we have the cell and the ATP and mitochondria going, does this give me more energy than it takes? And that pattern we learn with that is the pattern that needs to change. Because if we learned, okay, you know what? I'm going to conserve my energy. I'm not even going to hope for love and pleasure because when I did, it hurt. You are continuously perpetuating things throughout your life that suck you dry in the
Mm.
illusion that you're constraining and conserving energy, but you're not. And that begins metabolically first. After the cell, then it sends the cascade of events to the nervous system, the biochemical processes, the neurotransmitters, then it's emotion, then it's lived experience and language. And
Mm.
so when we're looking at what I wrote in The Hungry for More, we begin by rebuilding this and putting energy in the cell and then building everything out to reprogram it.
So, is there a specific thing that maybe you or you see your client stop believing about herself, ourselves, once we understand that it was never a mindset failure?
Freedom.
Mm.
Yeah. There's a freedom in no longer trying to analyze yourself into perfection and pummel. there's a freedom in this thing where you're like, oh my gosh, it wasn't just me not doing mindset enough or doing the work enough. There's a freedom in knowing you weren't doing it wrong. You just
Mm,
didn't have the right tools. That there's
mm,
an easier way to do it. Um, yeah, I would say freedom is the biggest thing. I feel like whether it's patients or students that I work with, when I'm able to show them their pattern and then give them the tools of how to shift it so fast that their subconscious wants to shift into because it uses less energy, as opposed to fighting the subconscious and saying this is the better way. This is the better way, you should do it. I'll get these results. That's the slowest way to heal. You're not going to heal. Your subconscious is doing these patterns that it created because it wants you to survive, not thrive. So thrive, mindset, all of that, that's the slowest thing. Like, oh, it'd be great if I could lose weight. It's great for my metabolism. Your survival brain goes, no, I'm holding all these calories because I need you to slow down. I need you to hear me. I need you to stop pummeling, you know? So there's such a freedom when they see their pattern and then have the tool to shift it, and it used less energy. Yeah.
mm. Sounds amazing. Yeah, I mean, when you explain these things, suddenly it makes so much sense, right? But if we zoom back out a little bit, where do you see, especially strong, for example, strong independent women, where do they get stuck specifically?
So I have a quiz that people can do and see which of the three main patterns they are based
Yeah.
on the cells and outward, physically, emotionally, in romance, all those things. And the strong independent woman is one of them. And with the strong independent woman, she's learned to trust herself and nothing else. And so she will always subconsciously find that she's the one who I say, who do you call when you're sick? Who do you ask for help? And she goes, no one. And
Mm.
she aches internally. But externally, she thinks, I wouldn't be able to trust them. They wouldn't want to. I need to give them something in return so I can have the illusion of control. Like, she doesn't even see that that's the story she's telling herself, because internally, she's like, I only have me. I'm my
Mm.
backup. I'm my security. This is my container space. I'm going to stay here. That's it. And it's a life that's not lived, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe she done a little bit of work, and instead of feeling sorry about herself that she doesn't want to call anybody, she can't call herself the victim anymore, for example.
Yeah, and I mean that's so true, because there's this safety in thinking this is my spot, this is my corner, this I can control. And it's an illusion. We know that. Because eventually that person does come to a time in their life that might be their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, their 70s, and we cannot, like the saying, no man is an island unto themselves. You know, we're meant to have community, we're meant to have structure.
Yeah.
And anthropologically, women are meant to have men and other women. And
Mm.
so this illusion of control is really just this depletion. It's a slower depletion.
Yeah, so if trying harder isn't the answer, is there something specifically? I know a lot of it will be in Hungry for More, but is there something where you can at least allude us to what actually can change these patterns?
Yes. I feel like, okay, now let's go. I'll just teach you all the things. Yeah, yeah, okay, let's go. Like I get so
Hungry for
excited
More is
about
the
that.
answer, of course.
Well, I get so excited about that, because I love these aha moments where I say these little things and people go, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. So like one of the first things as far as the energy is, I would say almost all of my patients, they'll get one thing under wraps. It's like whack-a-mole. Like they'll get, okay, inner child, and then they'll get their diet, and then they lose inner child, and then they'll get their body movement, and then they'll lose diet. It's like whack-a-mole. And so
Yeah.
pillar one in the Hungry for More is, how do you have a sustainable structure for all of those things every single day? And then when you have that energy, you have that cell voltage, you have that sustainable thing every single day. Detoxing, eating, nourishing, caring for you. It's like, if I could say something, this was like the book that I feel like every woman should have had. They're like, here is the life manual. Like, that's Hungry for More. It's not even
Yeah.
just the dating and romance. It's like, here's the life manual.
Yeah.
That's pillar one. And then you have that energy, and then it builds on pillar two. And that's where we're doing simple reprogramming, which builds on pillar three with hormones and cell to cell communication. And then we get to relationship. And so when we're looking at that question of things that work, one, building a system that's sustainable. Because a woman's energy is the highs and lows. We're meant to be that, even if we're postmenopausal. So we need structure. We need that system that is sustainable and solid. And so that's one of the first things I would say.
Yeah, so Jennifer, thanks so much. I believe that a lot of women out there got hungry for more. And if you want to learn more about it, of course, we will link the quiz down below. We will also give you the link, of course, to the course if you're interested in. I will also mention that there you can use my affiliate code where you get $100 off, which is really cool. And yeah, maybe Jennifer, you want to close us off. Do you have any farewell words for us?
I feel like I have imagined the women that are going to be in this course and seeing their faces. So I go to this place where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see you guys and meet you guys and see your transformation. So that's where my mind goes. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you.